Okay. It is 5:35. We're going to begin our 5:30 meeting. So I'll call the meeting to order, and Steve, I'll ask you to conduct a roll call.
Sure, and I'll start with the commissioners who are remote. Ms. Wells,
Here.
Mr. Patches,
Present.
Mr. Bryce,
Present.
Mr. Cantor. Here. Mr. Williams,
Here.
Mr. Rowena,
Here.
Mr. Mushak,
Here.
Ms. Lingalis,
Here.
and Ms. Tabachnik.
Here.
And Mr. Chairman.
Here. We have two, what I expect will be brief public hearings. They are 824 referrals. The first is 2023-36, 8-24 referral, City of Norwalk, purchase of 3 Belden Avenue, report and recommend action. For the purpose of this hearing, I'm going to seat Hector Patches. We will begin with staff. Going to make the presentation on this.
I believe Mr. Callahan and Ms. Vonashek from the city are here to speak on this item.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. This is Jessica Bonashek, the Chief of Economic and Community Development. This item that is before you this evening is representative of a number of years of work. In 2018, the library board took it upon themselves to complete 2 studies. One was a strategic plan and the second was a building plan. And in the strategic plan and in the building plan, it showed that the library was due for modernization and also a potential expansion in order to be able to offer current day services to residents and plan for future needs of residents. Since that time, we've been working very closely with the library board and the taxing district, the first taxing district in particular, to be able to work with them to acquire 3 Belden Avenue, which is the lot that is directly adjacent to 1 Belden, where the Belden Library is currently located. The lot is 0.53 acres, and the acquisition price that has been negotiated is $1.4 million. This item is being referred to you from the Land Use Committee, which it went to a couple of weeks ago. And pending your approval, this item will go to the Common Council for approval on Tuesday next week. We have been working very closely with the board of the library to lay out next steps on this potential acquisition. And their main focus right now is being able to expand the footprint of the parcel in order to be able to expand 1 Belden, which is the current day library. The other topic at hand is parking and being able to provide enough parking for the residents of Norwalk to be able to visit the library, especially with modernized amenities and modernized services. So we've been focused on that as well. The next step for the library board, if this acquisition does go through, is to revisit the building plan and revisit the strategic plan that was completed in 2018 and update those 2 documents. In addition to that, if this acquisition is to go through, we would work directly with Alan Lowe's department, which is the building and maintenance department, to be able to bring on an architectural firm to be able to work with the community in order to be able to design and create renderings that are based on the updated building plan and strategic plan that the library board will undertake, and work through with the community what that library should look like and what the footprint should look like, in addition to not only the footprint expansion and the renovation of the existing library, but also to determine the number of parking spots that are required for that library and to be able to account for that on the parcel. That concludes my presentation for this evening, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do the members of the commission have questions?
Yes, I do. I'm not understanding
how we're talking about an expansion of the library by utilization of this particular property, if there's not going to be parking available. Could you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Absolutely. So I believe that when we do the building plan and we do the strategic plan, that plan will help us to understand what footprint is required for the library itself. And that will need to be balanced with the footprint of the parcel and how much parking is determined through that study on what is needed. And it really will be a balance between what that expansion will look like and what percentage of the footprint of the parcel that will take up versus what we have available. So I do believe that it will be a balance. I do think that, and of course, the library board are the experts in this particular area, and we will be hiring a third-party consultant to be able to help us with this. But the library as it currently stands now is 47,000 square feet. And so if we have the ability to renovate the existing library and be able to understand what for current day amenities and future amenities can be included in that very large footprint, then I do believe that the expansion, might not be as great as what we once thought. And of course, I can't speak to that in knowing that the building plan and the strategic plan do need to be updated. But in saying that, I do believe that the 47,000 square feet that we do currently have I'm hopeful that will meet a great deal of the need that is here in the city of Norwalk for library services.
Is there a present plan for the existing building on the new parcel?
There's no current plan for the existing building. However, what I can tell you is that the redevelopment agency currently holds a lease there. Their lease is due up in February 2024. Currently, as of last November, the Business Development Center opened its doors in that particular location, and we're seeing a number of people walk through those doors each and every week. We're also working with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to hold training sessions there once a month, and we're working with SCORE and other groups to be able to offer training there as well. The one thing that we did do is we spoke to the library board and asked them if we can explore an opportunity where the Business Development Center would be incorporated into the library so that we continue to offer those services even when the building is no longer there. In addition, there are also approximately 30 parking spots on that particular site. And so those 30 parking spots would be used as of the acquisition date for the library.
I'm sorry, you just faded out on one part, or at least for me. Did you say that the building would ultimately be gone? Did I hear you say that?
Yes, so we do believe that and again, this will be decided in the building plan and also in the strategic plan. But what I envision for that area is that if the building was gone, that we would have increased opportunity for additional parking, as well as a potential slight footprint increase of the library. And we've also talked to the library board about including the Business Development Center inside the existing library so that we do not lose those services for the residents of Norwalk.
Thank you.
Tammy, you had a question?
Thank you, Lou. Ms. Bonacek, do you know how many parking spaces the library has now? And I know it's probably difficult to figure out how many would be in the future if you don't know the size of the building, but sort of what's the ratio of increased parking to increased library space?
I can't actually answer that question right at the second. I don't have all the information, but the library does have approximately 25 to 30 spaces behind it currently. Then we would add another 30 spaces with the acquisition of 3 Belden, even as it exists today, without taking the building down. And in addition, we also have a lease in place with the Eagles to be able to lease out 30 parking spaces on that particular lot as well. Obviously, the Eagles spaces are meant to be a temporary approach to be able to lock in additional parking until we understand what parking number we need and how 3 Belden can play a role in the supplying those particular parking spaces.
And was there a time in the past when the library had easy access to more parking spaces? And do you know how many that was?
So the library has always been under slight pressure for parking. And part of that is that because the library is within a certain linear footage of the Yankee Doodle garage, that it does not require to be parked as a public facility. And so as a result of that, there really has been no set number of parking for the library itself. The other thing that we have looked at is, of course, with the Wall Street work that is going on, we're in discussions to be able to gain access from the Yankee Doodle garage to where Belden and Wall Street meet. And obviously that's a very long-term solution, but we are discussing that as well. So there hasn't been a set number from a zoning standpoint or a set number from a public standpoint that the library has been asked to meet. And so we would need to dive into that further in the building and strategic plan.
And just one more question. If the city acquires the parking lot and the library decides for whatever reason that they don't want to expand, what would the city have any plans for the parking lot for this parcel?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? No? Okay. If there aren't, we have a resolution on this matter. Brian, can you put up that resolution? Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Williams has moved. Is there a second?
I can second.
Tammy, was that you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion and the second. Is there any further discussion? All right, if not, we'll go to a roll call vote, Steve.
Mr. Patches,
Yes.
Mr. Cantor,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Rowena,
Yes.
Mr. Mishak,
Yes.
Ms. Langallis,
Yes.
and Ms. Wells,
Yes.
and Mr. Schulman.
Yes. The motion carries unanimously. My apologies. I should not have done that. We haven't given the public an opportunity to.
It's not public.
Oh, okay, these are just 824s.
Yeah.
Just our action, okay. That's fine. Then we'll move on to the second review. And that's 2023-37. This is another 824 referral, to Norwalk Land Trust. This is a purchase of 12, 14, and 16 Stephen Mather Road. This is in West Norwalk. Report and recommend action. And is it Mrs. Chiarechetti who's going to make the presentation?
Good evening, commissioners. Yes, so this is it's actually a request from the Norwalk Land Trust for funds from the city's open space fund for the Norwalk Land Trust, not the city, to purchase.
We're having a little difficulty hearing you.
Okay, I'll speak up. Is that any better?
That is better, thank you.
Okay, this is a request from the Norwalk Land Trust, who is requesting funds from the city's open space fund to assist in their acquisition of property off of Stephen Mather Road, which is in West Norwalk. The open space fund was established in the year 2000 to assist the city in kind of proactive readiness for the opportunity to acquire open space. It is a property acquisition focused fund. The land trust has the opportunity to purchase 6.73 acres of land off of Stephen Mather Road. Their total purchase price is $1.05 million. They, as I mentioned before, they have asked came before. So the Open Space Fund has a series of, it's in Chapter 35, Article 3 of the City Code, and it includes not only its goals and objectives, but also the procedures for uses of the fund. The Land Trust presented their case to the Conservation Commission at the Commission's May 9th meeting. The Commission voted to support the use of the fund. And it was forwarded to the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Council, who also considered it and forwarded it on to you. That was at their June 7th meeting. The fund currently has $686,000 in it. So they're requesting a little less than half of that for the acquisition. Let me give you, I'm going to share my screen real quickly and just show you the location. And it's in West Norwalk. The red line is the city boundary. New Canaan is here. Darien here. The outlined yellow properties are the 3 building lots that would be acquired. This is the 5 Mile River, West Norwalk Road. This is Stephen Mather Lane here. The Land Trust is interested in the property, not only because of its size and the natural resources that it contains. It is also relatively close to other open space properties, including land in Norwalk owned by the Darien Land Trust, additional tracts in Darien managed by the Darien Land Trust, and then the Mather Homestead Foundation owns a tract of open space at the corner here. So it is one of the things that's mentioned in the Open Space Fund is that after the Land Use and Building Management Committee approval, it should be forwarded to the Planning and Zoning Commission for an 824 referral. Technically, since this is open space funds that would not go for the city for acquiring land, but it is funds to the Land Trust to acquire land. I don't know if it technically has a 824 requirement, which is for municipal improvements, but out of kind of optimum transparency, I suggested that it come before you for consideration. Any questions?
Alexis, what would the ultimate use of this property be?
The Land Trust, I believe, proposes to keep it open as a part of a wildlife corridor for habitat. There are some invasive species, and I know that they would, in the near future, be working on developing a management plan to combat those invasive species and make sure that the woodland and watercourse areas are managed in a way that optimizes their natural resource value.
Would it be open to the public?
They return to their letter real quickly. I know that generally they, to make sure that I have the right answer for you as far as their plan. I know that the Land Trust, generally one of their, the tenets of their stewardship is connecting people to wildlife habitat. but I know that they do keep some of their holdings specifically for just open space value, not necessarily direct human recreational value. But let's see. This coordination. Okay, so here's the answer. In addition to providing wildlife habitat, the Land Trust does plan to build a trail system within the open space to allow residents to enjoy nature. It is an educational opportunity to learn more about the importance of meadowland and forested areas to Connecticut's biodiversity. I'm reading from the Land Trust's letter to the Conservation Commission for the trust, for the fund.
Thank you.
Yes, I have a question.
Sure, go ahead, JJ.
Hi, my question is, will this land be, thank you, will this land be fenced in by any boundary meters?
I cannot imagine that the Land Trust would be interested in fencing it in. So I am not the final say for the eventual, the property owners, which are the Land Trust. I do not represent the Land Trust. I represent the city and the Conservation Office, but never in our discussions with the Land Trust has there been any indication of their interest in fencing in the property.
Okay, so if it won't be fenced in, how will you protect it from the neighbors in the area from encroachment?
I know that they have, the Norwalk Land Trust has a fairly active stewardship committee, and members of the Land Trust are kind of assigned different properties that they own throughout Norwalk to survey them and to ensure that there is not encroachment onto their land. So I would assume that they would do the same for this property.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right, if not, can we have the resolution put up, please?
I do have one other question.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Currently, what is on the land if it's for wildlife? Has there been, are there certain birds that are nesting there? Are there, what kind of wildlife is currently utilizing this property?
Sure, if I could share my screen again real quickly, the Land Trust, the Norwalk Land Trust did hire Land Tech. And I'll just share part of this. I'll scroll down to the bottom. So Land Tech did conduct what's called a rapid ecological assessment of the property to look at the flora, the fauna, the soils, and other water resources on the property. So they, and this is kind of broken down into different scales. So they determined that it is part of a wildlife corridor that is important to the 5 Mile River Riparian corridor. That's very close to, it's obviously it's contributing to the 5 Mile River as far as stormwater storage and runoff. And then, so it is mostly a wooded habitat with deciduous trees. And then, as I had mentioned, the shrub layer is where they would focus on a lot of their non-native species control. And then I believe that they continue with a list of, on the species scale, what they observed at the site, and that is, I do not have that list, but it would typically support a wide range of species that utilize both the meadow habitat. Go back to to. So the area is surrounded by a lot of open meadows, which are definitely a habitat that is in decline. Connecticut tends to have a lot of either developed land or wooded areas, and there's not a lot of meadows, and having meadow habitat adjacent to the more wooded habitat that these 3 parcels contain is optimal. Wherever you have kind of a transition of 2 different habitat areas. So as you can see, the little blue lines are watercourses. So this is a headwater wetland at the tip of these watercourses. And those are one of the most biodiverse and rich habitats that you can find for not only aquatic life, but for the birds and other animals that they tend to attract because of their nearly perennial source of water and just the varieties of plants. I don't have a list of specific birds for you, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, then let's go back to the resolution. Can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
I do.
I'm sorry? Okay, thank you, Hector. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, Galen seconded. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, if not, let's do a roll call.
Just
on
want
this.
to make sure Mr. Potch has moved. Is he seated for this item?
Pardon me?
Mr. Potch has moved, so he's been seated for this item?
Oh, I'm sorry. Hector has not been seated. Anna was seated. So I need someone else to make the motion. Thank you for that.
then I'll make the motion and someone else can second it. Okay,
And Mr. Williams has seconded. Again, any further discussion? All right, let's go to a roll call.
Mr. Cantor?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Rowena?
Yes.
Miss Jordan Byron?
Abstain.
Mr. Mishak?
Yes.
Miss Langalis?
Yes.
Ms. Tabashnik?
Yes.
And Mr. Schulman?
Yes. The motion passes unanimously. Oh,
And Ms.
I'm
Wells?
sorry, who abstained?
yes. By the-
Okay, I am going to adjourn the meeting. Can I have a motion? Okay, Mr. Williams moves, we adjourn. And we have a second. We'll do just show of hands. All those in favor? Okay, we're going to take a very quick 5-minute break while they set up for the second meeting supposed to begin at 6. We will begin at 6:09.